This is All 32 Picks and IPAs, your NFL and craft beer fancast, with your hosts Adam Emmert, Brendan Schultz, and Gerrad Tim. Play along at picksandIPAs.com/join. Hooray football! Hooray beer!
This is All 32 Picks and IPAs. Adam and Gerrad tied this week, but Adam is the leader of the pack, so you go first, Adam.
No, that sounds great. Meaning that, I'm the best at this, so I might as well lead this off. Although he came in second last week, which I'll applaud him for, he's still sucking hind tit. Gerrad Tim.
Somebody has to, and hind tit's better than no tit. I'll take it. Brendan, how you doing?
Well, I only picked one fewer than you guys, but I missed out on the bonus, which that really stinks. 40 points behind you guys, only missing one game. Vikings really screwed me. Screw those guys.
That was a dumb pick. You did it to you.
Well, I had to do a risk pick, and I had the best score last week. See, this risk pick thing, it really introduces a whole different realm of because having a bad week, you get to go first like you did and take the good risk pick because the Bengals were favored in that game. And yet it was still a risk pick. So I don't know. It's
not my fault, though.
It's kind of like it's like a handicap.
It's your fault that you stunk the week before and got the best pick.
Hey, man, I haven't stunk many weeks because I'm kicking both your guys' asses. So
you're stinking more and more than you have been.
The last couple weeks have been good to me, man.
Well, this week we are drinking the Löwenbrauerei Passau Urtyp Hell, which is a Goldenus Helles.
So all these German beers that we're trying out of these boxes, they have a lot of words that are hard to say.
A lot of German words.
Yeah. I feel like you need like a loogie hawk somewhere in there. Like, your tip.
No, I would have put it in there if I needed to.
Oh, okay. All right.
I like the ingredients: water, barley malt, hops.
Which really, that's all you need.
Seems to get it done. This
is a World Beer Cup gold medal winner.
Must have been from a long time ago.
Oh, really?
2012.
No, well, that's not too long ago.
It's on the can. Depends on how you look at it.
All right. Well,
the first ingredient is definitely water, though.
Yeah.
Considering it's a liquid, that seems helpful. So, yeah. All right, guys. We'll get to the beer a little bit. We'll talk winners a little later on, but let's lock in the picks.
It's time to lock in this week's picks.
All right, Thursday.
I'm down. I got them all.
You got them all. Whatever. This first game is going to totally perplex you, Gerrad, because it's the two teams that are your favorite Broncos are looking up to in the AFC West. The Oakland Raiders go on the road to take on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, first of all, Oakland's a more consistent team. They only have 2 losses this year. In Kansas City, they're really good inside their division all the time. They're really good in their division. But I really need them to lose in a really big way. I need them and Miami to lose pretty much. But overall, I do think that Oakland is the better team. And I think they match up against Kansas City's really good defense, too. I think Derek Carr is going to have a heyday. I got Oakland.
Kansas City is the favorite in this game. They're playing at home. I like Kansas City when they're playing at home. But user consensus, this is a bit of a coin flip. 48% with the Chiefs, 52% going with Oakland. I like the spot the Chiefs are in, controlling their own destiny, because if they can run the table, they will win the AFC West, just like I predicted at the beginning of the season. I'm going Chiefs.
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs are one of the best teams in football, according to Randy Moss, the number 4 best team in football, knocking out the Dallas Cowboys, in his opinion.
Outside the top 5, huh?
Yes. So the Chiefs are a solid team, but the Raiders also occupy one of those top 4 spots. These are 2 really solid teams coming down the stretch here. The Raiders do have an ability to come back from just about any deficit. The Chiefs, basically, they need to play their game. They need a defensive score or 2. They need to be able to be consistent on offense. And I think in that environment of Arrowhead Stadium, Derek Carr could have the struggles a little bit here and there. This is one of those division games that are always tough and pretty much unpredictable. But I think this is kind of one of those games that a young team like the Raiders, they take their lumps a little bit here. and they end up getting beat by the Chiefs, who have a little more experience going down the stretch here, being in playoff contention. I got the Chiefs.
Oh, man. No.
You need both of these teams. You would probably prefer a tie here, Gerrad. I don't know. You can't win with either of these teams winning.
We're not catching Oakland.
I suppose.
There's no way in hell.
I don't know Oakland's remaining schedule, but yeah.
Well, we went over it last week.
Ours.
Yeah. Well, next game up on the slate here, fellas. The 6-6 Miami Vikings. Wow, this is a good Miami Vikings. They're a new team, sweeping the nation. The Minnesota Vikings with their one-eyed coach go on the road to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brandan, the Jaguars. It's just the wheels have completely fallen off.
Yeah, and when your head coach is looking at like a pirate, I think that's going to be a good sign for the Vikings. Talk about a get right for the game for them to get back in this division, to be able to go on the road and take on a struggling Jaguars team. If the Vikings can't get it done here, they deserve to be done and not have any chance to get in the playoffs. I do like the Vikings here, though. 94% user consensus. A lot of people liking them too. Going Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm liking the Vikings too. I mean, they have to win this game. They're actually still in it for the wild card. Them and surprisingly Green Bay still sitting at 6-6, but they have to win this game. Jacksonville's a really bad team. Blake Bortles does look lost out there, and his mechanics are terrible. And there are times he'll make throws, and they're several feet off target, or he's trying to anticipate, but his anticipation is absolute garbage. And they're really not getting much out of the run game. They haven't all year. So I'm going Minnesota. I think that defense can control line of scrimmage and kind of dominate this Jacksonville team.
Yeah, basically Blake Bortles versus this Vikings defense.
Yeah, good luck.
That's funny. I'm going with the Vikings here. Sam Bradford just has to not shit the bed, and they win this game. And I think they do it for old one-eyed Mike. I think they'll do it for him. Up next on the slate, fellas, an NFC East showdown. The Washington Redskins 6-5-1, fighting for their playoff lives. Go on the road, Gerrad, to take on the 5-7 Philadelphia Eagles, who have found the struggle bus.
You know, they have found the struggle bus, but for Washington to go and just drop one against Arizona, I mean, that puts them in a way worse position for the playoffs. I'm actually really surprised they lost that game. I couldn't believe that, as well as Kirk Cousins has been playing. But I think they're a better football team than Philadelphia is at this point. And Carson Wentz has kind of started to struggle down the stretch here. I'm going for Washington. They need this game in a bad way if they want any chance, because they're kind of on the outside looking into that playoff picture as far as the wild card goes. So I'm going Washington. I think they got a lot to play for in this game, especially after losing last week to Arizona.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Yeah, I kind of like Washington too, Gerrad. Basically, Carson Wentz has looked like a rookie the last 5 or 6 games. And even though the Eagles are at home and they've been way better at home than on the road, I just think Kirk Cousins and company are just a little more consistent. They're a little more well-rounded team. Sure, they lost to Arizona last week, but Arizona, let's not forget, isn't devoid of talent. I mean, that's a team that should be a lot better than their record. So that's an understandable loss to a degree, although surprising. I like the Redskins on the road here.
I like the Redskins here too, because I think the Seahawks broke the Eagles defense. That defense was good going up, leading to the Seahawks game. And ever since they've stunk out loud. And the Eagles, they are 31% in this game. Redskins favorite at 69% among users. Vegas has this as a pick'em game. I like the road team, going with Washington.
So, we can cuss on this podcast, right, Brandan?
I do.
Okay. All right. What'd you say? It stunk up the joint?
They stink out loud.
They stink out loud. Right. Okay. Well, golly gee, Willikers, let us know exactly how you feel.
Screw you guys.
All right. This next game is swell. The Denver Broncos. Was that purposeful?
No.
Okay.
What the hell is that?
Not sure why that's here.
I don't need magic noises every time I say Broncos.
Yes, you do.
All right, guys. Next game is going to be swell. The 8-4 Denver Broncos, coming off a hard-fought victory against a stinker of a team in Jacksonville, take on the Tennessee Titans. Brandan, who you got?
Man, do I have to go first? You've been deferring to Gerrad. I'm gonna. Well,
I've been alternating.
I'm on Gerrad's side on this one. I'm gonna take the Broncos on the road. They're But this is a good game this week. You got two teams really playing for a solid playoff spot. That AFC South, though, I'm kind of rooting for the winner to be 7-9, and I'm not sure if it can technically happen with all those teams sitting at 6-6. But I still want to see it, and I do like the Broncos to go on the road and give Mariota a little bit of the struggles. So I don't. Who's quarterbacking in this game, Gerrad? That might.
We're not sure. Simeon's still day to day. We still don't know if he's going to play.
That doesn't help me.
Although I do know if Paxton Lynch plays, this is going to be a big time struggle fest. I mean, it gets really tough with him in the game. He's just missing throws. The game looks a little bit quick for him at this point. I don't know if you guys saw much of that game, but it was kind of tough.
Yeah, I saw parts of it. I didn't see it all. I'm not on board when with Lynch starting, but if Simeon were starting, I think I'd be definitely on board with the Broncos. 77% user consensus. So Titans a risk pick in this game. I still like Denver.
Well, count me among the minority because I'm taking the Titans. I really think that this is going to be a difficult game for Denver. I mean, especially if Paxton Lynch plays, only because he is so erratic throwing the ball. He came from a system out of college where it was one read and then run. And you can only do that for so long in the NFL. And we've seen a little bit of Paxton Lynch now. And so is the NFL. They've got a little bit of a book on him. And they're making it tough on him by just making the line calls a little more difficult by showing him some kind of exotic things. And it really is. It's rattled him to a degree. The Denver defense, though, is still an excellent defense, and it could give the Titans some problem. But I truly believe that the Titans can pretty much run on anybody. There really hasn't been a team to totally shut them down on the ground. And that exotic smash mouth kind of offense, Mariota has been playing out of his mind the last 4 or 5 weeks. I really feel like the light has gone on. And I believe Tennessee's coming off a bye, too. So they should be very fresh. And at home, battling in that division where 6-6 basically reigns right now between the Titans, Texans, and Colts all being tied up. I think the Titans have an outside shot to win this division, even though their schedule is the toughest going down the stretch out of all those. And they start by beating the Broncos this Sunday.
Well, I will say that Tennessee is actually favored by Vegas in this game by 1 point. The other thing that's there's a lot to like with Tennessee is the difference in red zone scoring percentage. Tennessee up around 72%. The Broncos only at 47%.
Yeah, Tennessee actually matches up pretty well in this game. I mean, they're third in rushing the football, and that's one area that the Broncos have definitely struggled in. The one thing, I mean, I know that Mariota's having a pretty good season, but man, he is going to have a tough time against this Broncos defense. We are ranked number 1 against the pass, and it's really not even close. We've been really, really good against very good quarterbacks this season. I don't think that's really going to change. We got a lot to play for in this game, and I think Trevor Siemian is going to play. It's not looking like Paxton Lynch is going to play this game. I guess Siemian could have played through that foot sprain last weekend, but since it was Jacksonville, we didn't really want to push it because we want Siemian to be healthy down the stretch. So I would expect him to play. And if he does play, it keeps our defense off the field a lot more. There were a lot of opportunities in that game last week. And Siemian has gotten better as time has gone on, as that left shoulder's gotten healthy. But I am really worried about that Tennessee run game, although their defense is really nothing to talk about. I mean, I think if we're going to be able to move the ball on any team, it's going to be against this Titans team. So I think the Broncos are just a better football team all around still. I got Broncos.
It should be a close game. That's definitely how I feel about it. Even if the Seaman plays, I feel like that it's going to be close enough to where you kind of just roll with the home team at that point.
Well, this will be a good gauge to see how Mariota is too.
Yeah,
against this secondary.
Should be interesting. Speaking of games that won't be quite as interesting, the 6-6 Houston Texans go on the road to take on the 6-6 Indianapolis Colts. Gerrad, Andrew Luck suddenly the hottest guy in the league.
So hot.
Sure.
With his neck beard and everything.
I want him to play a good team first before we say how hot he is. But this game is going to dictate who is leading in the AFC South. Because, I mean, Tennessee's going to lose. And so the winner of this game is going to control that division. I think Houston is really bad. They just lost to Green Bay. Brock still looks lost. I mean, I know that was kind of a snowy game, but whatever. This is the NFL playing it. I got Indy. Houston's a bad football team.
Yeah, I'm hopping off the Texans train, I think, for the rest of the season. I'm going Colts. They're favored by 5.5 points. User consensus 73% to 27% who like the Texans. I think you're right, Adam. Andrew Luck is getting hot at just the right time to be able to take this team into the playoffs. I don't think they're going anywhere with the defense, but I think they can get there in this division. I'm taking the Colts.
Yeah, there's a few things working for the Colts right now. I mean, Trent Cole has kind of turned it on, rushing the passer, as an aging veteran that they brought in to kind of do that sort of thing. Who's their number one corner? I always blank on his name. Is it Vontae Davis?
Yeah.
He's a good player, and he fought some injuries earlier in the season, and he's healthy. And I mean, at least they have one lockdown corner. I know the rest of their secondary is a disaster. Look, and Brock Osweiler's having his struggles right now, and really it's because he might have the second worst head coach in the league. Bill O'Brien's an awful coach. And when you see a player regress as much as Brock has in this season, that generally points to coaching. I don't see it. I mean, I saw Brian Hoyer play decent in Texas or down in Houston, and then play even a little better when he went to Cleveland, and then play even a little better when he went to Chicago. Like that, if he couldn't be better with Houston, that's got to be on the coach, man. He's a terrible coach. I think he's really screwed up Brock. So I like Andrew Luck and the Colts at home. All right, fellas. The 5-6-1 Arizona Cardinals still somehow alive in the playoff hunt. Take on the Miami Dolphins, who, coming off of a long win streak, I decided to pick them, and they promptly shit the bed and got beat by like 70,000 points by your beloved Ravens, Brandon. Fuck the Fins, but also fuck the Cardinals. Fuck both these teams. Fuck this game right in the ear hole.
Who are you going with in this game, Adam? Because how do you pick between two of your most hated teams, especially after the Dolphins screwed you last week?
Dolphins are slimier than Cardinals, and so I'm going to take the Cardinals, although it pains me to say it. I don't want to see BA and his ugly face get another win in all of his neck wrinkles in roles. Look, basically David Johnson is having a really good season. Some people have talked about him in the MVP discussion. I think that's a little premature, but a very good player. And look, Jay Ajayi had a couple nice games and then has kind of fallen off the map. I just think that the Cardinals have enough firepower to go down to Miami and win. Although the one thing that does worry me is Ndamukong Suh, Cameron Wake, Mario Williams and company, just getting a little bit of pressure on Carson Palmer. And when you get a tiny bit of pressure on him, he freaking unravels. So this will be a battle of anti-clutch quarterbacks, whether that's Palmer or Tannehill. I'm going to take Palmer and his 17 times rebuilt knee, Brandon.
Well, see, this educates my pick perfectly, because I knew if you couldn't go against the Dolphins this week, it would be the perfect time to pick the Dolphins. And I'm going Miami. They're down 1 point in the Vegas odds. But in terms of user consensus, they are up 56%, going with the Fins at home, 44% like the Cardinals going on the road. This to me, it's a coin flip game, and I'm only going the other way because you're going with the Cardinals.
That's fair. That's a smart pick.
This game, Adam, is actually fairly funny to me because, number one, David Johnson is good. And we all know what you're saying for a long time.
You know what it was? It was wrong. I was wrong about David Johnson. I was wrong.
You know what the other funny thing is about this is you finally pick the Fins and they lay an egg right on your face.
Oh man, just brutal. Just brutal.
When I saw that, I didn't actually get to watch the game, but when I saw the score as it was unfolding, I laughed every single time I saw it. I was just like, this is exactly what happens to him, and this is why he hates the Dolphins so much, which is why if you're not picking them, I am. Got Miami on the road.
They're totally going to.
They were bound to have a letdown. Well, they were bound to have a letdown game after a while. They've been winning a lot of games pretty consistently. It was bound to happen. I think they're going to get back on a winning track here.
God, you guys are probably fucking right. I hate this game.
I want them to lose. Trust me, I want them to lose.
You know what I do like though? Is beer.
Next up, this week's beer review.
This is kind of a delightful beer.
To me, this seems like
lagers?
this Urtyp Hell would be the I don't know, like the Bud version of German beer.
It's just a nice, easy drinking lager. Why do you got to be a hater, Brandon?
They're a little bit sweet, though.
Yeah.
They're a little sweet to me.
It's just okay for me.
It's okay for me, too. I do like these Helles lagers. They're nice and light. They're not very crisp as far as the carbonation. They do have a sweet aftertaste to me.
I can see all of that. I can see all that. The aftertaste to me isn't offensive, but you're right. It isn't as bubbly as, say, as an American lager. It definitely is a little flatter, but not in a bad way. I mean, it's still got enough carbonation. And screw both of you guys. The World Beer Cup totally disagrees with both of you fuckers. This is a decent beer.
I think this German lager needs to get more American.
Because everything in the world needs to be more America. For sure.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but
shout out to all our overseas listeners.
Right, exactly. Yes, the tens of you. Yes. Well,
this one's 4.9% alcohol by volume, and it hasn't gotten great reviews, but kind of average beer, I think, all around.
Yeah.
I think the problem for me is I compare it to the one we had last week, and that one was much more smooth. And then the Sunday when I was watching football, I had one out of this pack. It was the Doppelbock, and that one was awesome.
The Doppelbock, I drank that myself, and that was an amazing beer, I thought. That was my favorite one.
If you drink that Doppelbock with a frown, you suck at life. Because that was good beer.
I was so mad, though. I got... I ended up having to go get dinner, like about, I don't know, 3 sips into it. I'm like, oh man, I got to put this in the fridge and leave the house. And it totally interrupted my experience, but holy smokes. That was a good beer.
You just got to have 2 experiences.
That's a beer fail, Brandon.
I know.
It really is.
I was really bummed.
First world problems. Well, I got to put my beer in the fridge to go grab dinner.
That I didn't have to cook because I have a lovely wife that did it for me.
Well, we were going to cook, but then we ended up having a bunch of company and we didn't have enough food for everybody. So then I had to go out, and that's what happened.
Oh man, that's even worse.
But we all got to watch the Seahawks win together, and that's the important thing.
That is true. All right. Well, sharing is caring, no doubt about it. You know, one guy who doesn't give a fuck about the league is Matt Barkley, because he came out and played a hell of a game last week. The Chicago Bears 3-9 go on the road, Gerrad, to take on red hot MVP candidate Matthew Stafford, king of the Chuckers. Who you got?
I'm going with the king of the Chuckers. I'm a Broncos fan. I've always been a fan of the Chuckers. And I still don't believe in this Chicago team. Yeah, sure, Barkley. But I'm going Matt Stafford over Barkley any day. That's just what it boils down to. Detroit at home.
Yeah, well, you're not the only one unimpressed with a win over the 49ers. Only 4% user consensus going with the Bears. 96% like the Vikings to continue to hold the top spot in their division. I'm with Detroit fans, too. I like the Lions to win this game.
The Lions, 0 running game. It's all Stafford. It's Stafford or bust. And it is kind of fun to watch. I'll give you that.
They're always close in the fourth quarter of the game. They're in every game and sometimes trailing, which is, again, what makes the Lions fun to watch.
It does. You'd have no idea if you looked at Jim Caldwell's face that these games are fun, because he definitely does not let you know how these games are going. But look, one thing about the Bears, I think they did find a running back that they can use for the next couple years in this Thomas Howard kid. He seems like he can really play. And between him and Barkley actually showing out a little bit, this could be competitive. I don't think this is the slam dunk that a lot of people do. But look, the Lions defense is stepped it up just enough to keep them in games. I saw Matt Stafford out-duel Drew Brees. I saw that on TV in real life. That happened. I can't believe that happened.
I couldn't believe it either. It was wild.
So I got the Lions at home. I wish they would lose. It'd be better for my Seahawks deal, but that's fine. They'll get this one.
They're going to lose out after this game.
Are we ready to anoint Matt Barkley to being a quality backup?
Yes.
I just thought he was shitty all the way around.
Yeah, we can give him that status.
Can he?
It won't hurt me at all.
Okay.
Yeah, he's another USC quarterback, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all kind of the same guy.
Yeah. In the beginning of the year, I would have never thought that Detroit was going to be looking at 9-4 after this week.
Wow.
And leading that division. You couldn't have told me that. I'm kind of starting to wonder if Matt Stafford was just, maybe with Calvin Johnson being there, he was trying to force the ball way too much and to go through his progressions. Maybe he's improved.
Maybe.
It could be. I think really what we're overlooking here is the Jim Bob Cooter effect. because when you get in,
wanted to say that name.
Yeah, when you get in with some Cooter, things are better for you. And that's definitely what happened.
That. That's well said.
All Stafford needed was a little Cooter in his life, and now he's a better player.
Now he's a better.
Less Johnson, more Cooter.
Yep, less Johnson and more Cooter was the equation for Detroit's success this year. That's a bumper sticker right there.
Okay, that's enough.
All right. Let's talk about one of the stinker games. Two teams that are playing out the string here, Brandon. 5-7 San Diego Superchargers go on the road to take on the 4-8 Carolina Panthers.
Oh, man, another coin flip game in terms of user consensus. 51% like the home team Panthers, 49% like the Chargers. Carolina just hasn't shown me that they're going to be very competitive in games after what we saw them do against the Seahawks last week. They're just, I think, a team that doesn't have anything to play for anymore. I mean, the Chargers are at least playing to stay in San Diego. So I guess I have to go Chargers in this one. This is tough. Carolina is actually favored in this game by 1.5, but considering that they're at home, that's not a whole lot.
Man, I don't know about you guys, but when I was watching Cam Newton last weekend, and you look at him on the sidelines in the fourth quarter of that game, it looked to me like he had finally realized his fall from grace. Here was the team that he was supposed to rival, that he'd played in an NFC championship game and all this other stuff, and he'd been up there. And you look at that sideline, and he was dejected. Like he finally knew his place, and he was not even close. Quarterback play was. I mean, I think Cam Newton's almost completely broken, especially after that shellacking that they took last weekend against the Seahawks. I'm going with San Diego because I think Carolina's kind of destroyed at this point, especially Cam Newton.
Yeah, the Panthers had huge expectations coming into this year, coming off their Super Bowl loss. You know, you feel like you should be a team that should contend, especially when you bring back the majority of your talent, as they did. I mean, minus Josh Norman, which we all know that story and everything. But I think at this point in the season, when you have two teams that are playing out the string, there's one team that didn't really know what they were going to be this year, and that's the Chargers. I mean, they had some hope. I mean, they have Phillip Rivers, who I think is a future Hall of Famer. But I don't know that they had super lofty expectations. Like if you were to give them truth serum and find out what they really felt like. Whereas the Panthers, they felt like they were at least going to get back into the playoffs, make some noise, and make another run. So I think at this point in the season, one team is wholeheartedly more disappointed than the other. And that's what the Panthers look like, just like you pointed out, Gerrad, on the sideline. And it comes from their leader in Cam Newton, a crybaby shit ass who sat there and pouted the whole second half, you know, like just like a crybaby shit ass. Well, the Chargers are still competitive game in and game out. While they lose all these close games, which is a reflection on their coach, at least they're competitive. I'm going to take the Chargers, but again, it's a coin flip, like you said, Brandon.
They've got to win their road games because they have Carolina, and then second to last week they have Cleveland, and then at home they're playing Oakland and KC. So that's they have a chance to get to 8-8, but they're going to have to either beat two of the top teams, either in Oakland or KC, and they have to win the games on the road. That'd be fun to see the FC West all finish at 8-8 and above.
Only division that has an opportunity to do so.
It's true. Probably the best division in football this year. I think we can all agree on that, no doubt. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gerrad. You feel like you have to add more to your AFC West supremacy here? Is that it?
No, I was just actually going to talk about Cam Newton. Just one more thing. It's just like for some reason, I did take a little bit of joy when he couldn't do a damn thing with the ball, even after Earl Thomas had gone out, and he's watching Russell Wilson just go up and down the field. I was tickled by that because I think Cam Newton needs a lot of humility. Russell Wilson's always had it. To me, it was watching a young grown man play against a guy who was a kid still.
I'm glad we know where Gerrad's sports hate, really lands, because we know he's not a huge fan of the Seahawks, but it's nice to know there's a team in the NFC he dislikes more.
It's true. I just like dudes that act like grown men out there, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're making all that money. You're a professional. It's something to act like it.
Well, and it really boils down to the contrast couldn't be more stark. I mean, one of those men are a natural born leader, and the other one is a natural born front runner. And you see the difference. I mean, look at the way Russell Wilson handles a devastating Super Bowl loss. He stands up there, he answers the questions, and he talks about the future with some positive light to rally his team. And then you got Cam Newton, because apparently Aqib Talib has a couple things to say in the background, go out there and be a total freaking powder and sulk his way off the stage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just carried over to this year. I mean, that's why if teams aren't prepared to handle a loss in the Super Bowl, you see the difference in just how the Seahawks rebounded after a loss versus how the Panthers have.
And really what explains the difference in attitudes to me, Russell Wilson has always been the guy who was told, can't do it, too small, too short, can't do it. Mm-hmm. Cam Newton was always having sunshine blowing up his ass from day one and never learned how to deal with adversity. If you want your kid to grow up to be an awesome kid, let them struggle. In fact, make sure they fail so that you can talk to them about that. And no, Cam Newton's a man who's never failed up until now on the biggest stage. I mean, it's all come apart for him starting when the Broncos broke him in the Super Bowl.
Well, in that, he gets benched to play because he can't even make dress code.
That's not what that was about. I promise you.
What was it about?
Well, we're not ever going to find out, but I promise you there was a million other things bubbling under the surface, and the tie was just an excuse.
Well, yeah, because how hard is it to find a store? You know, like whether you're staying in San Francisco or he's crying about how his luggage got sent home. Dude, yeah, so what if your shirt isn't perfectly tailored to fit? Like you couldn't find a tailor for one to fix you up something nice on short notice, but like you can't just go grab something off the rack. I know you're 6'5" and huge, but dude, there's stores. You're in San Fran. You're in Seattle. Make it happen.
No, that was the flimsiest excuse ever, in my opinion. Oh, I'm 6'5" and a big guy. I can't possibly find a shirt. I promise you there, big boy, if you went down to Walmart, there's an extra large that will actually envelop your body that you can button up and cover up your body. It will work. Now, is it super trendy and match your stupid fucking hat? Probably not. But at the end of the day, you can still meet dress code. Don't give me this bullshit. I couldn't have my custom made shit. No, fuck off, dude. I seriously.
And now we know where Adam Sports hate lies.
Oh, it's deep. It's deep for Cam Newton, man. Well, let's move on here. We've dwelled on Cam for a little bit here. Let's move on to Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers at 7-5, getting a crucial win, taking on the Buffalo Bills, who led Oakland early last week and then let them off the hook. Gerrad, who you got in this AFC battle of playoff hopefuls?
Oh, man. I don't know. I think Pittsburgh really needs a win. They're tied with Baltimore in that division. Both are 7-5. Both of those two teams are coming off of wins. I think I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. To me, this game is a complete toss-up because both of these teams are fairly inconsistent. So I don't really know who to pick here, but I'm going to go with Pittsburgh because I think Roethlisberger knows that he needs to get it done. And historically, when he has to get it done by himself, he will. So I'm going to take him. That's it.
Well, Gerrad, going with the user consensus, clearly 80% in this game, only 20% going with Buffalo. And yeah, it's wild that there's few people liking the home team Bills. Even Vegas is giving them 2 points against the Steelers at home. Buffalo's home, so they're playing in front of their home crowd in December. Now the Steelers playing weather too, so that's probably not going to be a factor. But I just like the fact that Buffalo was able to get out ahead of Oakland early. You know, we talked about maybe even liking the Bills on the road in that game against the Raiders, and it turned out that way. So I'm liking the Bills to bounce back. To stay on the winning side. They're at 6-6, take them to 7-6. And since Pittsburgh, they know that the Ravens are probably going to lose to the Patriots this week, so they can afford to chalk up a loss here. I am liking Buffalo. This is my risk pick.
And it's the least riskiest risk pick I think you could have.
Well,
in
some ways. The guy who picked the favorite.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you had the first choice, and so I understand why you picked this one. It makes a lot of sense to me. Because Buffalo is a decent team, and I'm not sure still to this day if Pittsburgh is a decent team or not. And they're so Jekyll and Hyde. Mm-hmm. And when you have a Buffalo team that can run the ball the way that they do with consistency, and with Sammy Watkins, who will start to round into form, and T-Mobile playing the way that he does, this is going to be a tough matchup. I initially wanted to take the Bills, but to let you have a chance to catch me, Brandon, I'm going to go with the Steelers out of the kindness of my heart. Even though I don't feel good about it, if I had to bet on any game this week, this is the number one stay away game for me.
Yeah, this was the one I struggle with the most, I think.
I'd take the Bills +2. I like that bet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's a bet you don't want to make. Which one of these teams can actually pull out a win? Toilet bowl dose. This is the second toilet bowl of the week, even though we introduced it first. Cincinnati Bengals 4-7-1 go on the road, Brandon, to take on the winless Cleveland Browns. Somehow this is a risk pick.
Well, it's a risk pick because Cincinnati actually showed us something this last week, getting the win at home over the Eagles. Over the Eagles.
Yeah. Who can't play on the road?
Yeah, but the Cleveland hasn't won a game. They can't play anywhere.
RG3 is going to be back.
That's supposed to make it better.
Brandon does not want to talk about that. Trust me. Brandon don't want to talk about RG3.
No, I don't want to talk about lower tier quarterbacks being so exciting. Although 13% are going with the Browns in this game, 87% with the Bengals. They're gonna get their couple wins here going down the stretch. The Bengals are Cincinnati all the way on this game. 5.5. Vegas has them favored by 5.5.
Nothing more boring than a week 14 talking about two teams that won't be in the playoffs. I hope Cleveland wins a game, but I got Cincinnati.
I got Cleveland, baby. We got RG3 coming back. The beginning of a Hall of Fame tandem, RG3 to Terrell Pryor. It's starting this week. Mark it down. This is happening. Look, the Browns have to get a win at some point this season. They are not going to go 0-16. I watched the 0-16 Lions. They had zero talent. The Browns have a little bit. They have enough to win one game. This Bengals team is completely uninspired. Sure, they won at home last week. They're way better at home than on the road. They're on the road. And I mean, look, Marvin Lewis isn't going to rah these guys up to get fired up to play the Browns. The Bengals overlook this game as they play out the string, and RG3 starts his comeback player of the year bid for 2017.
Wow, that is the most delusional rant that I've ever heard from you, Adam.
It was fun.
You haven't listened to him enough, I don't think. But that one's up there. It's up there.
It's in the Hall of Fame of delusional rants.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I think it'd be fun for Cleveland to go on the road and beat Pittsburgh and kick Pittsburgh out of the playoffs in Week 17. That would be fun.
That would be fun because I hate the Steelers too. All right, guys, let's get to the real toilet bowl of the week. Toilet bowl numero uno.
Yes.
The New York Football Jets, who have given up on living, take on the San Francisco 49ers. We're not sold on Colin Kaepernick, even though he has played league average quarterback, which is better than they could hope for, Gerrad. Who you got?
Nothing more exciting than talking about two teams in Week 14 that aren't going to make the playoffs. I got the Jets.
Okay.
The Jets are favored by users in this game, 69% going New York, 31% like the Niners at home. I think the Jets have given up, though, and Bryce Petty, I watched that game for about 30 seconds before I changed the channel. Bryce Petty stinks. I don't care who's playing for the Niners at quarterback in this game. I'm liking San Fran.
So no amount of Madden is going to help Bryce Petty. Like he really, it's not going to help his game anymore. I know he said it was going to help him read coverages and stuff. False. He can't play a lick. Kaepernick can at least play a lick. Look, and not only that, but I think the Niners are actually giving legitimate efforts for Chip Kelly, one way or the other. That front four of the New York Jets is a dominant front four as far as talent is concerned.
And they quit in Week 5.
Yeah, they did. And it's pretty abysmal. I think Todd Bowles is in danger of losing his job. When you see a team start to play that uninspired, even though it hasn't gone the way that you wanted, look, it's no bueno. I got the Niners at home in Santa Clara. I'm taking my last two picks, have a combined record of 1-23, and I've got them both to win this week.
At least they're playing at home. I don't like taking the Niners here. I didn't like taking them in Chicago, and then they got trounced. But I think they're better than the Jets.
Right now,
they got trounced by Chicago.
That's what I'm saying. I don't really like them, but I don't like the Jets at all.
1-25 is what those teams are going to end up being after this weekend.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be. Or I could be a genius.
Okay, Gerrad's probably more correct.
The Atlanta Falcons, 7-5, go on the road. Brandan, take on the LA Rams. Jeff Fisher extended officially.
Yeah, well, congratulations to him. Although it sounded like that extension was in place way back before the season even started, and I don't know why they waited until now to announce it. Maybe they really want Eric Dickerson to stay away from the Rams franchise because, that's the. So have we figured out what Jeff Fisher has on the Rams organization at this point? I don't know.
Eric Dickerson listens to this podcast because I've been saying there's been naked pictures involved for a while now. And Eric Dickerson asked the same exact question. I think that's what it is. There are some dick pics floating around somewhere of Stan Kroenke, and it might be smaller than Trump's tiny hands.
I think I did
Isn't
hear.
this contract essentially a 1-year extension? The Rams can opt out of it or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but still,
and Stan
basically,
Kroenke
it's a
has
promise
boatloads of
ring of
money.
a contract is what it is. It's the equivalent of a promise ring.
I heard a very good argument as to why they extended Fisher because they're kind of looking at that 2019 timeframe for when they move into their new stadium, and Jeff Fisher is just that filler to get them there until they can get a real team together around a new coach. And I also heard that Jeff Fisher has the same agent as one of the high up executives for the Rams too, so that could play a part in why that they're so close and willing to extend him. I don't have any other explanation. I don't like the Rams in this game. 7% of users like the Rams for some reason. 93% like the Falcons to go on the road and beat them. I am with those 93%.
I too am with those 93%. I'm going with Atlanta. They're just a better football team all around. And on the Jeff Fisher thing, I don't see why they wouldn't try to go after Josh McDaniels, who's obviously going to be looking for a head coaching position after this. Try and bring him in with the Jared Goff if you think he can do something. And that way you can maybe hit the ground running in your new stadium. I really don't get it, but yeah, Atlanta.
Yeah, maybe Stan Kroenke has a mustache fetish. That's about the only thing that I can figure. I mean, it is as baffling as it gets, this extension. But I mean, you guys hit it on the head. The Falcons are a better team all the way around. Even though that Rams front seven is pretty domineering and they could get a little bit of pressure on Matt Ryan throughout the game, I still think they have enough to figure it out and really make life tough on them. Look, Jared Goff has potential if they can get him out from underneath Fisher. A lot of people saying that he won't even coach next year even. And maybe the reason they were waiting is they were waiting for a good time to announce this extension, and no good time ever came around.
Well, guys, what do you say we talk this week's winners?
That's what I was going to say. All right, let's talk winners.
We're on the same page. All right, looking at the overall leaderboard for Daniel Weinholz, he donated the knife from Buck Knives that we're going to give away to the winner of the Picks and IPAs League. And Super Tecmo Rawls leading the way at 1680, Biggity Cool and Lieutenant Nacho Cheese at 1670, and Imran for 10, rounding out the top four. Top five, we go down to Toonhawk. So John over there, see, one of our overseas listeners. And if we look at the top leaders from this week, we got 4 people who came in at 160 points. We got Toonhawk, congratulations, John. Super Tecmo Rawls, Rawls to the Walls 12, and Beer and Barbecue, your top 4.
Solid combination, beer and barbecue.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's almost as good as Picks and IPAs.
Almost. Depending on your picks, I guess. Okay, guys. Lots of winners, not me. That's fine. So moving on. Let's talk about a team that's winning. The Seattle Seahawks, 8-3-1, on the road to take on Aaron Rodgers, Gerrad, and the Green Bay Packers. Basically, Aaron Rodgers has had a couple good games after being doubted for the previous 4 games of that. Who you got?
Green Bay Packers, 2-game winning streak. Still not sold. Still think they're a bad team. I just don't get it. I mean, yeah, they beat Houston. I can't remember who they beat before that. That doesn't really matter. Houston's a terrible team. And you saw the Seattle offense just, they can pretty much do anything. Once that it's kind of weird. Once that passing game gets going, which doesn't really take much for Russell Wilson, that running game just explodes. I mean, there's really nothing you could do. And Green Bay's defense is going to have no answer for that passing game, especially with their secondary. This go out in Lambeau, whether the weather's nice, whether it's snowy, I don't think it really matters. Even without Earl Thomas, who's out forever, I'm going with Seattle in this game.
Yeah, I'm going
Earl
Seattle.
Thomas not out forever, Gerrad. Not out forever. He'll be back next year.
Contemplating retirement.
But he might be at the start of a Bob Sanders spiral. I mean, we talked a little bit about that today on the Seahawks podcast, but not out forever. Shut your dirty whore mouth.
It would be a bummer. Safety is my favorite position on the football field. I'd be really bummed if he was done. I really would, but he is.
Great jerk. Yeah, he just couldn't leave a nice win for the Seahawks in the books here, could you, Gerrad?
Nope.
Well, you were right. The past 2 weeks, yes, they get the win over Houston. They get a 27-13 win over Philly a couple weeks before. As I mentioned, Philly now broken. Before that, though, you just can't ignore the fact that Green Bay went on a run where they gave up 30 or more points. 1 to Atlanta, 2 to Indy, 47 points they gave up to Tennessee, and 42 to the Redskins. Over a 4-week stretch, that is bad defense. And two weeks against a team like Philly and a team like Houston, it isn't going to turn that around for me. Obviously, I talked about the Holmgren curse on the Seahawks podcast this week, but they're going to overcome it and get their first win in Green Bay since 1999 this week. I like the Seahawks 66% going with the Seahawks in this game, 34% with the Packers.
Interesting. In Lambeau, I'd have thought that had been a little more even, but basically, I only have one question for you guys. Justin Britt is playing in this game, right?
Pretty sure.
Yeah. So Seahawks by 45 because Justin Britt is the MVP of the Seattle Seahawks. Gerrad, you said once that the passing game gets going, they can't be stopped. And really what it boils down to is all it needs to get going is Russell Wilson to have a half a beat to throw the football, not have somebody breathing down his neck. Justin Britt is the glue to the offensive line and makes it go. Him coming back last week was the difference. He'll be the difference this week for that offense. And like I said, Brandan, this defense has a propensity to give up a shit ton of points. I predict a shit ton coming down in Green Bay, Seahawks by 30.
By a lot. And I one of the things that I was looking at when I'm looking at this game is like you really have to account for Jimmy Graham at this point. I mean, he's pretty much unstoppable. He's completely gone off the rails. Who's going to guard him? Who in that secondary or in that linebacking core is going to guard Jimmy Graham? I mean, everyone else on every single defense is having a tough time. Who the hell there is going to do it?
Nobody.
It really is. It really might be the biggest mismatch in this game, Gerrad. You're 100%
mishmash.
Right.
Yeah, it's total mishmash.
All right, guys, let's move on to the NFC South. Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints shit the bed last week. I thought they were in this to win it. I really did. I thought they had a chance, but they're just too dang inconsistent. Brandan, the Saints go on the road to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, riding high. I believe they're coming off a bye, if I'm not mistaken.
They are riding high for sure. I think, are they coming off a bye? Did they finally get their bye? I just like the Bucs at home, regardless. And 76%, kind of surprising to see that many people jumping on the Bucs bandwagon, despite, I think having that win over the Seahawks was huge for them. Having the win over the Chiefs was huge. So, but this is a division rival. This could be tough for them. I know Bucs fans not looking forward to playing the Saints. But 76% user consensus, 24% going with the Saints. And they're favored by Vegas too by 2.5. I'm going Tampa on this one. They have their shot at making the wild card, and they might be able to get it done. Well,
unfortunately, this is my risk pick, so I have to take New Orleans. And that sucks because Tampa Bay is a way better team. And Jameis Winston's been playing a lot better in the second half of the season, much like he did last year. He really turned it on after their bye week. I just think that Tampa Bay has a lot more energy. They're a lot more youthful of a team. And they have a lot more mojo going down the stretch than this kind of aging, typical Drew Brees, Sean Payton type of offense. I think it kind of just gets a little bit worn out year after year. I think Tampa Bay is playing with a lot more energy. I would pick them if I could, but I got to go with New Orleans. They're my risk pick.
Yeah, because you couldn't pick against your Broncos.
Well, here's the thing, Gerrad. You're going to be right on this risk pick because the New Orleans Saints win this game. And I'll tell you why. This is a matchup league. And a lot of times we say this team's better than that team, and we look at the whole picture and everything. But really, look, you said it. This is a Drew Brees, Sean Payton affair. What is it that the New Orleans Saints do best? They air out the ball. What is one of the biggest weaknesses on that Tampa Bay team? They're secondary. They suck. So when I look at that, Drew Brees is going to have a heyday, and he always tortures the Bucs. It's just what he does. It's an annual tradition. I'm sure they celebrate it in his household every single year, twice a year. I think he goes in there and terrorizes these Bucs again. You get Jameis down by 7-10 points, and he has to start taking chances. He'll make a dumb throw or two, and that's even enough for a putrid Saints defense to capitalize on. I like the Saints.
Here's the thing with this game, guys. If you're going to take the Saints in this game, they play each other twice in the next 4 games. And yes, the Saints are going to win in the Superdome. But there's no way the Saints are going to beat the Buccaneers team twice. I know I like the matchup, but I would like this matchup if it were actually in the Superdome. Drew Brees, not the same quarterback on the road.
Brandon, I want to save you a little bit. I don't know. Was that beer you were drinking, or was that orange and pewter Kool-Aid? Because the Bucs aren't a good team. They're not. I understand that they had 2 good wins, recently in the season, but overall, I am not convinced. I'm putting down the Kool-Aid, Gerrad. I can't do it.
This division, none of these teams, I think are going to make a splash in the playoffs, because you got Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and New Orleans on the way outside looking in. I don't think they really have a fighting chance to get in the playoffs, but this does become an interesting game, and Tampa Bay really needs this because Atlanta's got an easy one this week, I think. Tampa Bay really needs this game in a big way. I would still go with them. They have more to play for. New Orleans, they don't even have a chance for the playoffs this year.
No, but they have Drew Brees, and he's going to try to get his 5,000 yards for the year. And this is a great defense to start padding up some stats, man, because he wants to get paid this offseason. I know he does. And at 37, those paychecks get harder to come by. All right, guys, let's move on to Sunday night, an NFC East showdown. This could actually be a compelling game. Gerrad, Dallas Cowboys 11-1. Dak Prescott, who is apparently a god amongst men, goes on the road to take on the 8-4 Giants, who lose JPP this week to groin surgery. That's right, groin surgery.
Ouch.
That's the worst kind of surgery.
That's a knife way too close to an important part for me. But Dallas, man, they really could have lost another game last week. If teams would just take one more opportunity than they would have, Dallas could easily have 3 losses on the season right now. They barely beat Minnesota. What was it, 17-15 or something like that? But it was a close game against a Minnesota team that really wasn't playing all that well, couldn't even move the ball on offense. But you see Dallas kind of starting to struggle against good defenses a little bit. Dak Prescott not asked to do too much. And if you can sew up that run game in Dallas, you have a pretty good chance to beat them. Unfortunately, JPP going out, I think the Giants defense is pretty inconsistent, especially with all those big money guys that they have this year. I'm going Dallas, even though divisional games are really tough and the Giants have a lot more experience in these types of high pressure games. I'm going Dallas.
I'm going Dallas too. I said I wasn't going to pick against them. I had to take a risk pick last week, and I paid for it. So continuing to pick the Cowboys here on out, 72% user consensus, 28% going with the Giants. Man, I'm going to be rooting for the Giants, but I think Dallas is going to continue to win.
Yeah, the biggest problem in this game to me when I look at it is the idea that the Giants have no chance to stop the run game.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, put no pressure on Dak, it's just going to be a long day. Now, the one thing that does give me pause is that this Dallas defense isn't good. And I say it week in and week out, and yet somehow they eke out wins. Sure, they kept Minnesota to just a handful of points, but that offense, God hates that offense. Like he keeps taking away all their players. So to me, the Giants have a puncher's chance with Beckham, Shepard, and Cruz to do some damage. Unfortunately, I just don't think their defense is going to be able to get off the field, and I don't know that they're going to have the ball enough to win. So going with the Cowboys.
Giants always play the Cowboys close, though. This could be a fun game to watch on Sunday night.
I think so too. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I think Eli Manning's problem here is they've got to get Dallas off the field because he's a rhythm quarterback. He's got to be throwing in rhythm. Otherwise, he's going to have the struggles. He's going to throw 4 interceptions. So it's all about whether or not they can slow that run game down. Otherwise, this could get ugly.
So all in consensus there, the stupid Cowboys get another stupid win. Whatever.
Stupid Cowboys. Yeah. You see that dude that got his championship tattoo already?
Oh,
really?
Fuck that guy. Yeah.
his Super Bowl 51
just because of that, they're not gonna
champions.
win.
Yeah, I know. He jinxed him.
Wow.
Oh, man, that is one thing you don't do. You don't get a preemptive championship tattoo.
If you're going to do it, though, if you're going to do it on Super Bowl 51, because you have, like, he has just enough space in there that he could fit another eye or two if they happen to win next year or the year after, and it could maybe be morphed into a V.
I see. That's smart thinking. There's some strategy there, but then you have to assume that the person who does this in the first place has any brains whatsoever. It's so fucking dumb.
Which we're assuming probably doesn't.
No. Who does this sort of thing? Who gets a preemptive championship tattoo? I guarantee you this guy's a gigantic douchebag. A gigantic one. A walking gigantic douchebag. Speaking of, let's look at the Ravens and Joe Flacco. That's probably not fair. That's
Flacco's not good, man.
He's just an average quarterback. I don't think he's a bad dude. Baltimore Ravens 7-5. Gerrad go on the road to take on the New England Patriots. No more Gronk, out forever. Earl decided that they didn't need him anymore.
Yeah, oh man, that hit kind of may have ended his career because these back problems, Gronk's injuries, they just keep mounting up. He's got a good 8-9 games in him anymore. I mean, he's been banged up all this year, but man, these back injuries, he's just had a lot of different injuries. He might be done forever. One person who probably doesn't care because he can make the most is Tom Brady. And Joe Flacco, when you look at him on the sideline, even after he throws an interception or a touchdown, he looks like he just doesn't give a shit, man. His expression's the same. He's just sitting over there la-di-da. New England's a better football team. I actually think that this might be a close game because Baltimore's, their defense does show up to play. I am going with New England because they still have Martellus Bennett, who is still a good tight end.
I'm going New England on this one too. And part of it too, user consensus on this 89%, only 11% going with the Ravens. I tend to give the Ravens a little more credit than that because of that defense. They seem to be playing a lot of teams strong. You saw them just wipe the floor with the Miami Dolphins, but New England still favored by a touchdown. You got to like Tom Brady at home. I mean, Genghis Tom on Monday night. It's easy. It's an easy pick to go with New England on this one.
So it does feel like an easy pick. I mean, you look at the offensive side of the ball for New England, Deion Lewis, Julian Edelman, and Martellus Bennett still. I mean, that's something that, to me, you look at and say the Ravens don't have much of a chance to really stop that. But I think one thing that's interesting, and I don't think is ever really talked about, how is John Harbaugh not in the conversation of one of the best coaches in this league? This roster for the Ravens is fairly devoid of talent. And you hit it right on the head, Gerrad. Flacco's an uninspiring leader because you can't tell the difference between when he throws a TD and an interception because all Flacco knows is that the check's still cash. Either way, it doesn't matter which one he throws. So I think John Harbaugh doesn't get enough love. I mean, the idea that they're even 7-5 at this point blows my mind. I still think they lose this game, but Harbaugh got all the good guy genes in the Harbaugh family.
News and interesting topics from around the NFL.
All right, fellas, let's move on to some topics here. I brought nothing. Well, actually, I brought a few things. I just ended up blowing my load early in the podcast, so I'm out.
You're spent.
Every time I say that, you never believe me.
Well, that's because you lie.
I do. I do have one tiny topic today.
Well,
Adam, I know you're a fan of this. Justin Forsett.
Yeah.
Goes. Going to split snaps this weekend.
He's going to split saps. Okay. Well,
yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Beer's good.
That's could be a good signing for the Broncos. He definitely works with that kind of zone blocking running scheme. It's just that the offensive line doesn't block it very well. And like the problem is with the Broncos, I keep hearing, we're going to start running the ball. And yeah, it's still like this is
we're not able to do that. We're not able to do it.
You're 14 of this conversation ever. How long has Shanahan been gone?
Way too long. Way too long.
So whatever it is that Captain Redface left, that's when you stopped running the ball, and you're not going to run the ball again as long as you're running this Kubiak offense.
All right, guys.
We just found a running back that we could throw in a good break.
Well, that was nice. Broncos found a running back. All right. Well, I want to bring up something with regard to Jeff Fisher because we haven't talked enough Jeff Fisher. I just thought that this was a fun stat to bring up. 5 years later, after hiring Fisher, the Rams are now 32nd ranked in terms of making first downs, 32nd in making yards, and 32nd in scoring points. And
wow,
he is extended.
Well, of course he's extended because that man is consistent. And if there's anything I want to coach, it's consistency. Now, unfortunately, he's consistently shitty. And it's tough, man. It's tough. If I was a Rams fan, I would definitely be a little despondent over this. I feel like I would.
I would probably start to lose interest and faith in my team. I mean, at some point you have to consider moving fan bases when you know they're not even trying anymore. You can't be I would never leave the Broncos, but who cares about the Rams? If I was a Rams fan, I'd leave them.
Jared, John Elway will die one day, and there's going to be somebody else in charge. But
what the hell are you talking about?
He's not immortal. I'm just saying you might have to keep bad ownership at some point. But look, this Jeff Fisher thing, there's one measure easily when you look at a team in whether or not it's a good decision or a bad decision. As a Seahawks fan, I saw that news and I laughed. I was excited about it. Even though that means 2 losses a year, that means a team I don't have to care about for the rest of the year. It's fine. I'll make that trade every day of the week. That's good for our deal.
Well, especially with Arizona kind of being on the downhill side. Who else is there to really worry about now?
No one.
That's it.
We've outlasted all of our rivals. Every one of those teams in that division have tried to come up and be our rival, and then we just bitch slap them back down so they know where they belong.
Well, Adam, we talked earlier about maybe not hearing about what Cam Newton was actually benched for, but Jerry Thornton of Barstool Sports says a source is telling him Cam Newton was benched for being at a strip club and taking along his teammates.
Yeah, if there's one thing I know, that the one thing that's against the employee handbook for NFL players is titties. So you better suspend him. Definitely. How dare he look at titties? Titties.
Wow. But for one snap, what are you trying to prove? Making a guy sit out a snap.
Well, I think it was intended to be. Run the ball. I think it was intended to be at least 3 snaps. And Derek Anderson kind of messed that up. Well, no, Tolbert kind of messed that up.
I do think, though, that is a pretty poor punishment, even if it ends up being 1 snap, to tell a guy that he's sitting out the first series. Wah.
Well, my thing is
I don't get it.
I don't know that I even buy this because, look, NFL players go to strip clubs. They do it. They on almost all the teams. I don't know that that's
shoot themselves in the leg at them.
You're right. So I just think that can't be against team rules. Though the thing that must be in play there at that point is that he must have broke curfew or something, had been there too late. The idea that he went to somewhere he could be as a legal adult and yet be,
but what legal adult gets curfew? That's just as dumb as having to wear a tie.
Point taken.
I don't even know where to go with that one.
Yeah.
Points, fellas.
But teams have curfews on the road. They do.
They do.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They have dress codes too. So there you go.
Yeah.
So, all right, look, if there's one thing I'm more convinced of than others, I thought this through. Whatever the reason is, it doesn't begin with the letter T. It's not about ties. It's not about titties. It's about something else.
Is there another T word we can think of?
Could it be about team?
Yeah. I don't know.
Bad teammate.
Maybe time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, time would fall into that curfew category, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I wish Crybaby Shitass started with a T.
Well, let's finish up by talking about somebody who matters. Tom Brady, now more career wins than any other quarterback with 201. Is Tom Brady the GOAT? Greatest of all time for people who aren't familiar with the acronym.
Oh, so not a grass grazer? But
no, not an actual GOAT.
No. I think if he plays maybe 1 or 2 more seasons and just plays longer than everybody else, because he's got all the stats like a Joe Montana or a Dan Marino. He's definitely got the championships. He's got all the stats that look good against the Joe Montana, Dan Marino, John Elway, all these guys.
So you need 2 more years for Tom Brady to pass Joe Montana. Is that what you're saying?
I think so, because I think if the only stat that he's got left is longevity. If he can outlast these guys, he's got to be up there.
Well, he's already outlasted Montana, right? I mean, he's 39.
I think so.
Wasn't Montana done at 37?
I guess as far as games played, I don't know where he ranks among those guys, but he's got to be up there.
It's more than Montana. That's for sure. And I think that's the other guy in the conversation, right? And I've been for the longest time the guy that's been like, no, it's Joe Montana, case closed. Like, there's no better big game quarterback ever. I think the only thing that you can point to for Montana these days is just Super Bowl win losses. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I understand Tom Brady has more rings, but he also has more losses. But then when that comes out of your mouth, you realize exactly he's been there a hell of a lot more times. And I just it's tough, especially in this day and age when it's so pass happy and the rules benefit the passer so much. It's difficult to compare throughout eras. But look, I mean, I don't know that there's an argument anymore. Tom Brady, look at how many different iterations of the Patriots there were in the salary cap era. And he made it happen with any group of guys. It didn't even matter. Whereas Joe Montana, he was in the pre-salary cap era where they were building super teams. And he definitely never lost a Super Bowl, but he also had a super team going into the Super Bowl against some depleted John Elway-led Denver Broncos team. So it's tough. It's tough. I think I have to say Tom Brady, he's the greatest. He's the GOAT.
Well, he is the Genghis, but 17 years he's been in the league now. This is his 17th season. Joe Montana played 15 seasons. Of course, one of those was shortened when he lost his job to Steve Young. But I mean, it has to be. People point to Joe Montana and said, he never lost a Super Bowl. But Tom Brady won 6 AFC championships in addition to winning 4 Super Bowls.
Sure, with the stability of one great head coach and one great organization, whereas Montana, went from Walsh to Seifert and then blows out his elbow and then has to rehab that. And then comes back and then takes Marty Schottenheimer and the Kansas City Chiefs to an AFC championship game.
Yeah.
Like,
Marty Schottenheimer was good then, though. And Tom Brady also blew out his knee and had to miss out a whole season.
Oh, yeah.
It's not an elbow, but it's still a knee. I mean, I would go Tom Brady, but I think another one of the questions is going to be what generation of person you ask. If you ask somebody who is a lot older, watched a lot of Joe Montana, they're going to say Joe Montana without question. But me, I would go with Tom Brady. Absolutely.
I grew up on Joe Montana, man. I watched a shit ton of him play. And I mean, this is reluctant to go this route.
I like Joe Montana more. That's why I would lean Joe Montana.
Yeah. Plus his last name's Montana.
Right.
Like, that's fucking rad. Like, there's that. So I don't know, man. I think it's Tom Brady.
The Genghis.
Yeah. The Genghis.
He can win no matter what.
That's true. Well, on that note, let's hope he doesn't win the chip this year. And I think when we say that, we can all agree. We can all agree on 2 other things, and that is hooray football.
Hooray football.
Hooray football.
And hooray bear.
Yeah, hooray beer.
Hooray beer.
Yeah, go Hawks.
Cam Newton sucks.
Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/picksandIPAs.